Welcome to the Art of Procurement podcast with your host, Philip Eidson. Here, thought leaders share the trends, strategies, and tactics that you can use to elevate the role of procurement and your career.
Hello, and welcome to episode 99 of the Art of Procurement and today's Friday show. And as I publish today's episode, I'm actually going to be driving from the LA area to Tucson in Arizona for the Zycus Horizon Conference. I know I've talked about that before, and it actually gets started on Sunday. So I'll be recording an episode live when I get there, and I'm also looking forward to sharing with you what I've learned once I get back home. We're actually going to make it a family affair. So as you listen in, I'll be dragging along my 3.5-year-old and my 9-month-old on what is a 450-mile drive through the desert in each direction from home. So please wish me luck. I think I'm going to need it. And before I actually go into today's show, I do want to say a word of thanks for today's sponsor, Denali. And Denali is a procurement-focused managed services provider. They're technology agnostic, so whatever your procurement technology stack is, Denali is able to support you. And they specialize in providing really a variety of procurement services, including category management, sourcing, contracting, supplier management, and P2P for Global 2000 clients across multiple different industries. And as a former buyer and provider of procurement managed services, it's always been really clear to me that Denali prides themselves on building solutions that are tailored, they're flexible, so they're really there to meet the individual needs of each client, rather than trying to push something that's off the shelf. By partnering with Denali's procurement professionals, your organization is going to be able to generate more value faster. And to find out more, Denali actually has a really neat explainer video, and you're going to be able to find that in the sidebar on the show notes page for today's episode. That's going to be at artofprocurement.com/TPR takeaways. Just go and check it out. I'd love for you to go and take a look, and also to drop Denali a line to thank them for their support of the show. It really does make a difference. Okay, so, unless you're new to the show, you'll have heard me talk about the Procurement Revolution event that I co-organised with Kelly Barner of Buyers Meeting Point. And we were thrilled with how the event panned out. We had 40 revolutionaries, we had over 50 pieces of content, we had 5 live Q&A sessions throughout the week. I also want to thank you all for sharing the content during the week. We had over 1.7 million, so yep, that's million impressions on Twitter for the ProcureRev hashtag, which was just fantastic. We learned a ton from the things that went well, and we probably learned more from the things that didn't. One of my regrets was that I really wasn't able to dedicate as much time as I would have liked to pull together all the disparate submissions into some key calls to action. Honestly, the preparation and putting it together took so much longer than I ever anticipated that it was just something that I didn't get a chance to focus on as the event came to a close. So what I thought I would do now, we're a couple of weeks removed from the end of the event, is to share 4 different takeaways that I took from all of the great submissions that we received. And before I do that, I do want to let you know that we've actually converted each submission into its own podcast now, so that you can listen via your smartphone rather than have to listen through the web browser at your desk. Each one of those podcasts, it varies in length from the short end 3 minutes to the long end 20 minutes and everywhere in between. And then we have replays of those 1-hour Q&A sessions. What we did is we lifted the audio directly from the video, so some of those submissions had slides that accompanied them. If you want to view those, then you'd still need to go to the Procurement Revolution site. But to find out more just about the podcasts, go to artofprocurement.com/revolution16 or just search in your favorite podcast app. The content should come up there. Okay, so let me take you through the 4 pieces that I wanted to highlight. And first, and this is actually the title that I chose for today's episode, is Make an Impact That Matters. The submission was from Lance Younger. Lance is a partner of the procurement and supply chain practice for Deloitte in the UK, and he's also a former CPO of Goldman Sachs and CEO of a number of different procurement-related businesses. And the question from Lance is, are you making a difference that matters to your stakeholders? And stakeholders being folks who are both inside and outside of our business. And also in his piece, Lance made a really interesting point to me about leadership. So I think a lot of the talk that I hear about procurement talent focuses on the mid-level. But Lance's question was, are we doing everything we can to ensure that as a profession we have the leaders who have the skills and the vision to take procurement to the next level, and critically to influence those outside of our function to come on the journey with us? So for my first takeaway, I'm actually going to quote back Lance's words, and those are we making an impact that matters? The one theme that really stood out to me through the entire event that I probably enjoyed the most was that of mindset. And we had a number of great content submissions around the concept of mind shift. One that really stood out to me that I wanted to talk about today was from Elizabeth Lawrence. Elizabeth is a long-time procurement exec. She's actually just embarked on a new journey of her own to build a category management center of excellence for a global materials company. I think that just started in the last couple of weeks or so. And Elizabeth, during our discussion, made a really passionate appeal that we should think differently about our role and the value that we bring. And of particular interest was the notion that we shouldn't think of procurement as a function, that we're more of a team or a collective of people who really want to fully integrate into the business and into functional areas to collaborate deeply across the organization to solve business problems by helping to lever the power of the supply base. And Elizabeth felt that by continuing to position ourselves as a function, it leads us to operate under that old mindset as a function of just leveraging spend, of trying to manage compliance, and that we continue to be seen on the outside as a silo rather than a partner. So there's definitely some food for thought there. And I'm hoping that Elizabeth's going to join me soon for an expanded conversation on the art of procurement, because this to me is a really fascinating topic, especially when we start to layer in various different delivery models around procurement that exist today that maybe didn't exist 5 or 10 years ago. But my takeaway is that we must, as a profession, change the way that we think about the value we can bring for us to be able to bring about any lasting change. And the next takeaway that I took is around disruption. So a number of different revolutionaries shared their perspective on the disruptions that may change the face of our profession, frankly. And there was a short piece from Mark Pereira. Mark is the founder and CEO of Alt Street Labs, and he's also the founder of Procurement Leaders. Mark will actually also be on the next episode of Art of Procurement, so definitely look out for that. But Mark shared 3 different areas of disruption heading our way. Cognitive technologies, digitization, and what I just talked about a little bit from Elizabeth as well was an increasing demand to focus on value as well as, but ultimately instead of, managing the cost. In addition to Mark, we had Vishal Patel of TradeShift, and Vishal talked about the potential of AI and virtual assistants. And then Konstantin Limbarakis of Determine. Konstantin presented 6 different disruptive forces. Among them were big data, mobility, and the need to enable self-service procurement. And so my takeaway here is not that there's any one disruption that's going to change the game. In fact, I'd argue that the predictions on the impact that any one of these may have on us is really just that. It's a bit of a prediction. My takeaway is that while we might not know exactly how things will change, it's clear that there's a lot of disruptions on the horizon that will ultimately have a profound impact. So it's best to really understand the possibilities and figure out how we can use those to our advantage, than to really look at them and think, maybe that's a little bit far-fetched, maybe there's only very niche use cases, so we don't really have to worry about them. And then my final takeaway was inspired by a short video, and I think it was just over 2 minutes long, and it was provided by John Hansen of Procurement Insights. And I'm going to quote directly from John. He said, "Technology is a tool to be leveraged to help people to deliver results." So John said that it's you're the future of procurement. He encouraged us all to take a more active role in terms of building relationships, but also critically, I think, that we have to take responsibility for our own future as individuals, but also collectively for the future of our profession. So my takeaway from that, my fourth last takeaway, is that, this may sound cliche, but the future really is in our own hands. It's dependent upon what we do as individuals to take advantage of the opportunities that are presented to us. So, those are my 4 takeaways. I'd love to hear yours, so just let me know on the usual contact details. And if you haven't yet had the opportunity to listen to those 50 pieces of content that were created by our revolutionaries, you can do so in a couple of ways, just as a reminder to what I said earlier. First of all, you can go and view in video format. You can go to theprocurementrevolution.com. And secondly, in podcast format. And that is either by using your favorite podcast app to search for them, or by going to artofprocurement.com/revolution16. That's revolution16. And, I'm loath to kind of provide too many links in an audio show, but I do want to give you the link to the show notes for today. Honestly, if there's only one link you remember to go and check all this out, this is probably the best one, because this is where everything else is going to be linked up through. And that's artofprocurement.com/TPR takeaways. That's artofprocurement.com/TPR takeaways. All right, well, I'm going to leave it there for today. I'll see you next time, which unbelievably is going to be episode 100, and that will be with Mark Pereira. So I will be back with you next week. Thank you for listening to another episode of The Art of Procurement. To find an archive of all past episodes, you can go to artofprocurement.com/episodes. And to ensure you never miss another show, go to artofprocurement.com/subscribe.